We're now used to Rockstar taking years and years to deliver us their next masterpiece. But even with all that extra time, there's one thing that not even Rockstar can avoid when it comes to releasing games, and that's the failed launch. We've seen just how bad they can get with games like Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky, but not even Rockstar is safe from this either. From GTA Online characters getting deleted to RDR2 on PC looking like this is the history of Rockstar's failed game launches. By far, one of the biggest failures Rockstar has ever faced was the disappointing launch of GTA Online. After the insanely successful launch of GTA 5, Rockstar was set to launch GTA Online just a few weeks later on October 1st of 2013, but this did not go according to plan. Rockstar had highly underestimated the amount of people trying to play and simply didn't have enough servers to allow everyone. And due to this overload on the servers, GTA Online was filled with more game-breaking bugs than Rockstar could have ever imagined. For starters, for the first 2 days, almost no one could even get online at all. A few lucky people could sometimes log in during non-peak hours, but you would usually get about an hour of play before the game would boot them offline once more people flooded the servers. Rockstar was working around the clock to not only solve these problems, but also to acquire more servers, which they were in desperate need of. Eventually, Rockstar would fix the problem of people not being able to get online, but to say they were able to actually play would be an extreme exaggeration. You see, back in 2013, when you created a new character, Lamar would pick you up from the airport and drive you to a race you need to complete in order to finish the online tutorial, except this race would never load. People would have to close their game and retry over and over and over again, hoping for it to finally work. And if you played GTA on the old-gen consoles with the insanely long loading times, you would know just how much of a pain this really was. And that wasn't the only time the game didn't load. Infinite loading screens were 90% of everyone's GTA Online experience in the first week of launch.
I've seen this same cutscene like 500 times!
But even worse than not being able to progress was the players having their progress completely wiped away. The biggest issue Rockstar was facing from the lack of servers was the connection to the Rockstar Cloud services. During the first couple of weeks of launch, GTA Online would frequently disconnect you from the cloud services, rendering anything you do afterwards completely useless. Many people were reporting having bought an apartment, roaming around a little longer before getting off, then coming on the next day to find their apartment gone. And while that sounds bad enough, imagine if it was your entire character that was deleted. When people were unable to connect to the Rockstar Cloud, a message would pop up asking players if they'd like to retry. For some reason, if you hit retry, there was a good chance the next time you logged into online, your character would be permanently deleted. It happened so frequently that Rockstar had to issue a PSA telling everyone not to hit retry and instead go back to single player if they couldn't reconnect. But unfortunately, this warning came a little late for some people. These issues would persist for the first month or so after launch, with them finally resolving most of the issues with a patch on November 5th, 2013. And as an apology to everyone who had to deal with the infinite loading screens, deleted characters, or not even getting online, Rockstar would gift every player with $500,000, and this would officially end the disastrous launch of GTA Online. But while GTA Online may be the most devastating launch Rockstar ever faced, it most certainly wouldn't be the last. RDR2 was by far the most detailed open world game ever released back in 2018. So when people finally heard it was coming to PC in November of 2019, People were just as excited again to see what this game can really look like when pushed to its limits. In reality though, the PC experience was more daunting than exciting. Much like GTA Online, most RDR2 PC players couldn't even open the Rockstar launcher, which you needed to launch the game. But for the lucky players who were actually able to launch the game, they were then met with a whole catalog of problems. A ton of people were reporting their game crashing every 20 to 30 minutes. It also seemed that no matter how much or how little you crashed, you were almost guaranteed to crash going to certain places like Valentine, for example. But that 20 to 30 minutes of gameplay in between each crash wasn't that great either. From constant stuttering to whatever the hell this is, the game was riddled with visual and technical bugs everywhere. And the worst part is that not even Rockstar knew where the problem was coming from. It was so broken that some people were actually getting better performance the higher they set their graphics, which makes no sense to me and made no sense to the players at the time. The community went on a hunt to figure out exactly what they can do to fix these issues for themselves, but because everyone uses different hardware, most people just had to wait for Rockstar to release an actual patch. Most of the problems seem to have stemmed from Rockstar's new game launcher, which they had released only a month before RDR2's PC launch. Rockstar over the next month or so would release a novel's worth of changes and updates to try and solve their issues, and once again, for compensation to the players dealing with these issues, Rockstar gave a care package to all PC players. By now, the game is basically back to a normal running state, but while Rockstar was able to fix most of these problems, fixing the next global disappointment would be almost impossible. While RDR2 and GTA Online failed mainly due to technical issues, the same cannot be said about the Definitive Edition. The GTA Trilogy launched similar to RDR2 PC Edition, as after a few hours of launch, the entire Rockstar game launcher went down, meaning people who bought it couldn't even play the Definitive Edition or any other Rockstar game for that matter. These issues were quickly ironed out, however, and once people were able to finally play, that's when people realized just how soulless and devastating the games really were. For instance, most fans were not happy about the art direction Rockstar decided on for these remasters. Most of the characters and textures did not quite live up to the Rockstar standard that people look forward to. Not to mention the countless spelling mistakes, graphical errors, and a few noticeable gameplay bugs. At some points, the game didn't even run at 60 FPS, and this is in a game with graphics comparable to The Simpsons Hit and Run on the PS2. A lot of people felt like the games didn't pay homage to the legacy of each game very well, and looks more like Rockstar just preyed on people's nostalgia for a quick and easy paycheck, which leads right to the worst part. The reason Rockstar was getting more backlash about these games than usual is due to the fact that they completely stopped anyone from buying the original games as they took them off of their own store, which forces people to then buy the Definitive Edition if they ever want to relive these memories on their favorite old games. On top of that, Rockstar also sent out targeted DMCAs towards some old mods for these games. For example, Rockstar took down the Vice Cry Remastered mod so that people couldn't download that instead of Rockstar's own remaster, which fans were not happy about. So not only did they release a game that most people didn't like, but Rockstar also stopped these people from being able to relive the true experience they got back all those years ago unless they can find a physical copy. So even though this game didn't have technical issues that held back its launch, I'd argue that it's worse that Rockstar just straight up made a game that people didn't like and thought was a complete cash grab. Now, it is important to note that Rockstar themselves didn't actually work on this game, and it was instead handed to Grove Street Games to work on, but being under the Rockstar umbrella and a remaster of old Rockstar games, I still lay all the blame with Rockstar. Even though Rockstar is one of the most well-known and respected game companies out there, it doesn't mean that they're perfect. Whether it be technical, graphical, or outright just sloppy work, not even Rockstar is safe from a bad launch. So even though Rockstar has had some shaky runs in the past, we can only hope that come 2025, GTA 6 won't have to share the same fate as some of these games.